love of the game, wanting to be the best at what you do, no matter what that is. And year to year, yeah, there's things that motivate you. I mean, listen, when I was coming out of college and I had to transfer, and I was a small school quarterback. Like, obviously, that probably went into a little bit of the motivation. Being in Baltimore for as long as I was, and not being there anymore, and how it ended. Obviously, there's probably going to be a portion of that that motivates me. But if I was relying on things like that to motivate me, that'd probably last for 1 week, and then I'd shut off. My motivation really comes from wanting to be the best and just really loving the game, loving coming into this building and going out into that practice field and being with the guys.
Your last one, Brandon.
Joe, Peyton Manning's been through this, and I know his name just came up. Have you either reached out to him or will you, just because there's some similarities?
I haven't. It's interesting you ask. I am new to this. It's completely different, and obviously I'm going to find my way through it mostly on my own. But if that opportunity arises or something like that, then it would probably be a huge benefit to talk to somebody like him who has gone through it, and not only has gone through it, but has made it successful.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
A lot of questions right now for John Elway and Coach Fangio at the table. Joe, you can sit.
John, when you looked at Joe Flacco, and I think you had said it maybe on NFL Network, but what is it that stuck out as to why he's the answer right now for this point with the Broncos?
Well, I mean, I think if we look what what we're going to do offensively with Rich coming in and the offensive philosophy and how we're going to go about it, and plus you look at the success that Joe's had and where we were and just felt that, and the success that even though this is a different offense that has evolved, but also to know the success that Joe's had in this system, that he had with Gary, and obviously that's changed, but, that had a lot to do with it, and I think that, again, getting a guy that I believe at 34 years old, as you're talking about, is still very young at the position that he's playing. And he's got a lot of experience, still has all the tools to make all the throws. And so, it really turned out to be a perfect situation for us. And so we're glad it worked out.
John, you feel like you guys have addressed your needs in free agency, and there's still a bunch of guys who were on this team last year that are still out there. Thoughts on bringing any of those guys back?
We're still working on it. So obviously it just opened, a couple days ago. So we're still working on it and still trying to get some things done that we need to get done. But, we'll get through free agency, try to fill some holes there, and try to get some guys back that want to be back. And so we'll go from there and then also start working on the draft after that. But really excited about the way it's gone so far with Joe as well as JaJuan and Kareem that, it's been a real good start for us.
Hey, Vic, Kareem Jackson, how much does his versatility give you a lot of options with how you call a game week to week?
Well, it gives us a lot of options. Just from week to week, we may be able to line them up where we feel we best fits to defend the team we're playing. He's smart enough to learn all the different positions. He's proven in games and on tape that he can execute the positions, not just know what to do, but play them competitively and at a high level. So it's a big advantage. And it helps when you're looking at other players that you have guys that can move around.
John, how quickly did it come together with Joe? I mean, was he your top target all along, and were you set on moving on from Case Keenum as a starter?
Well, I mean, I think we had to look at all the different options. And so I think that, when Joe, the option of Joe being here came about and we're going to trade him and we were able to get a deal together with Joe, then, that was the decision. To go that direction if we could get something done. And so, that we thought that, was fair for both sides. So, we felt that, with Joe's availability and his experience starting, as we said, and he's won over 100 games in this league, we felt that, he was the best answer for us. And so that's why we're glad it worked out.
Vic, being a first-time head coach and obviously more defensive-minded, what appeals to you about having a guy who's been there, done that, won a Super Bowl in the biggest role on offense?
Well, we all know that quarterback is the most important position to have solidified, not just in football, but maybe in all of sports. And I know Joe from his past, being there with him his first 2 years in the league, and then competing against him a couple times after I left there. And what really got me excited is after we made the trade and the league let us bring Joe out here for a day to physical and all the other things you have to do. When he got in there the night before, he stayed at the hotel where I'm staying at. So we got together that night. He came up to my room and we started talking. And I was a little worried that he wouldn't be excited to be here, having been on the East Coast his whole life. But I had to kick him out of the room about 2 hours later. He's fired up to be here, and that is really what made me happy.
John, across free agency over the last week or so, we've seen the trade market be very active, and obviously dating back to the 2 moves that you guys have made. Why has that been such an effective manner of acquiring players this season? Is it something about the way that the market has been? And particularly with Joe, why was the trade the best way for you guys to go about acquiring a quarterback?
Well, that was the only way we're going to get Joe. And so that, he was still under contract with the Ravens. And so that's, that's why it, it's just a matter of what the compensation was. And so, it worked out well for both teams. It's an unusual year with everything, with the trades. And I think, that's kind of part of the league anymore. And the fact that I think we may see more of it. But, you have people like Beckham and Antonio Brown that, maybe not necessarily happy with where they were and vice versa. So therefore, I think that's why we saw the trades that we've seen so far. But it's been pretty active.
John, how do these additions in free agency kind of give you options at that 10th pick overall?
Well, I think that, our philosophy has always been try to, take care of the glaring holes in free agency and that where it opens us up in the draft to where we don't have to draft for need. We can draft for football players. And so, it opens us up quite a bit. We feel like, there's going to be a lot of good football players at 10. We'll get through this free agency period, and then once we get back in April, start working in the draft and, set the draft board. So, but we feel like it gives us a lot of different options, with that 10th pick, as well as, the second and third, we're at the top of those rounds. And so we feel like a lot of good football players that we can, that'll be there to help us.
I guess this question's for both of you, but we'll start with you, Coach. And I get that he's your boss, but how's it been in the short term so far working with John? And I guess, John, you work with Vic. How are you guys working together?
It's been great. I don't know what else to say other than it's been great, seamless. I walk into his office, say, we talk about things, or occasionally he'll walk into my office, and it's been seamless and great.
I mean, to me, it's been great. Like Vic said, it's been pretty seamless, and I think as well as with the staff, the whole staff that Vic's put together has been tremendous and being able to work together. So I think that, with the players that we have so far, and, it's been, we've been 100% as far as people agreeing with the right people. And so it's been really good so far. I anticipate it continue to get better, and as we get to know each other, and which has been a great process also. So we have a lot of the same philosophies, and as we continue on, we'll get to know each other better, and I think it's going to be a great relationship.
This is also for both of you, John and Vic. What brought you to JaJuan James, and do you feel like with his age, John, maybe he's the kind of that long-term solution you've been seeking at right tackle? And what about with Paradis leaving? Where do you stand at center right now?
Well, let me start with, Connor's our center right now, and I think that obviously we didn't want to lose Matt, but we had real concerns about the ankle, and so that's why that didn't work out. So I'm happy for Matt. I really am. I'm happy for Matt that he got an opportunity in Carolina. It had nothing to do with Matt's ability, but we had big concerns about that ankle. So, but like I said, I'm happy for Matt that he got what he got in Carolina, and I hope that works out for him. As far as JaJuan, he's 26 years old. He's young. We really like him. He's a good fit for us, what we want to do in the zone scheme, the outside zone. And he's a physical guy, and he plays hard. And so we're excited about him. There's no question that, hopefully he solidifies. We're planning on him solidifying that right tackle for us. So we really feel good about the two young tackles that we now have and what we're doing. So we'll just continue to get better there. So yeah, he'll be right and Bulls will be left. Yeah.
Just for both of you, how important is it for you to settle things in the offensive line to get the most you can out of Joe?
Very important.
Simple question, simple answer.
It's very important.
Now, you've had a lot of turnover there in the last couple of years.
Yep.
How can you avoid that to get Joe in a situation where you're not sort of doing it again and again?
Right. Well, I mean, that's without a doubt, we're trying to get continuity in there. So it's a goal of ours. And so, you know, with Ron coming back, he'll be at left guard, and Eli at right guard right now, and with Connor at center. And then, you know, we still, like I said, we've got a ways to go with that, with Mike Munchak as the offensive line, as well as, Chris Cooper coming back, that we feel like, they'll get comfortable with each other, but we're going to continue to try to improve there. But, there's no question, it's very, very important for us to try to protect Joe. Having played that position, if you get protection, your chance of being successful is a lot better.
Do you like where Ron is coming back?
Yeah, so far so good.
John, you released Darian Stewart. What's your plan there at safety to fill a veteran guy like that, and could that be something in the draft as well?
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking. We got some young guys that we feel good about there at safety, and we'll continue to try to get better there. Obviously, with Darian, we love Darian. He's a great player for us for 4 years and a great leader in the locker room, and but just felt it was time for us to probably go a different direction. But that's not to say that what Darian did for us on the football field as well as off the football field, he will be missed. But we feel good about the young safeties we have, and again, we'll go in the draft with our eyes wide open and try to find the best football players we can.
I think you mentioned at the Combine that you're kind of in a waiting pattern on Chris Harris and another deal there. Has anything changed there, and does Kareem Jackson's arrival, does that affect it at all?
Well, we'll talk about that later. Once we get through everything, we get through the draft, we'll see where we are. We'll see where we are budget-wise, and so obviously Chris has been a good football player for us for a long time. So we'll have to see where that goes, and it's something that we'd like to look at.
This is for both of you. After these signings, how do your expectations change for this team this year?
They're the same all the time. No matter who we have, we're going to go out there and try and improve each and every day. And our goal is to, when we line up on each and every Sunday or Monday or Saturday or Thursday, that we expect to win that game. It's a process. I don't think you make predictions but we expect to win the games we're playing.
And, I think as Vic said, it's one step at a time. We're continuing to build this, and it'll be good in April 2nd when all the players come back. We start the offseason program. Everybody starts to get to know each other, and we can start moving forward with the new staff. The players starting to get to know the new staff, and so that's the exciting part. Is that's where it starts to build, and so from that point on, it's one step at a time.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.